Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this part 2 of the video where we are discussing the various planets in the third house. And before we move into the main topic of this video, kindly subscribe to the channel if you have not done it already. And please share your knowledge. Please share this knowledge with your friends and family if you feel they are going to benefit from this information. Okay, so coming to the basics, the third house is the house of your communication. The third house represents your teaching activities, your intellectual sphere, as well as your ability to train people. Okay. So third house also represents your social niche, your everyday communications and habits, as well as your routine daily activities. Okay. It also shows how your subconscious is based, and it's all about realizing your skills as well as your potential as a human being. Okay. So in the last video, we covered the planets in the third house from Sun to Jupiter, and in this video we'll be covering the remaining planets. Okay, now Venus in the third house can endow a person with a penchant for creativity and the ability to communicate with competent speech in conversation and writing. So this thing is very, is greatly facilitative for self-realization. And these people, they sometimes can be nitpickers, but they'll always try to improve and decorate the surrounding space while being avid travelers. Okay, they are easygoing usually and friendly, and they love to build relationships with relatives and neighbors. Remember, third house is also the house of neighbors. And those under the influence of Venus in the third house, they are usually harmonious. And for them, unless and until Venus is afflicted by malefics, for these people, peace and tranquility will be valued over everything else. Okay. If Saturn goes into the third house, this is very, very good. The native is going to get very good results of the age of after the age of 36. Okay, because Saturn in the third house endows the native with one very important quality of itself, which is patience. Okay, these natives have a very strict or a restricted way of looking at things. They are usually very accurate with their analysis, and Saturn's presence in the third house teaches them to concentrate their efforts on achieving their goal. Okay, and these natives, they have remarkable organizational skills. They have a traditional way of looking at things. People may call them to be very conservative by nature, but usually they are very enthusiastic when it comes on implementing long-term projects. Okay, they have a very mathematical mindset, and they show pronounced qualities of a strategist in whether in the office, whether at home, or even in real life situations. Okay, now if Saturn is negatively placed, or if Saturn is receiving negative aspects, then these people can suffer from pessimism and loneliness and may have a tendency of slipping into depression very often. Okay, and people having Saturn in the third house, they will usually prefer loneliness, and they will shy away from being in contact with relatives and neighbors, and this can usually lead to conflicts as well as misunderstandings. Okay, Rahu in the third house is very good for courage. Okay, Rahu in the third house makes a person very courageous, and the influence of Rahu manifests in a very non standard way of thinking and behavior of the native, sometimes reaching extravagance. Okay, for these people, there are no indisputable authorities and obligatory observance of social rules, and they are very open to new ideas and knowledge. Okay, so they are ready to process the information received with lightning speed, and they have a tendency to immediately respond to any situation. They do not plan their actions and trips for the long term. Okay, so they are very spontaneous, and they have this intense desire to implement their plans quickly, but that can become a source of problems because Rahu, remember, it is the bodiless demon. It is only the head. It can only want to eat. It can have this great desire to eat things but cannot digest things. Okay, so usually Rahu can create blockages in communication. Because why that happens? Because these people, their ability to formulate their thoughts and this is not something that they are very good at. Okay, Rahu gives multiple thoughts. Rahu shows you multiple scenarios. Rahu shows you multiple opportunities, and as a result, these people, they lack the ability to formulate their thoughts or to articulate their thoughts for a better understanding by the people around them. Okay, Now, if Ketu goes into the third house of the natal chart, such a native is going to have a very intuitive approach in solving life issues. The personality is going to be very mystical. They will have a craving for occult practices. Okay. Remember, all occult are a manifestation of Mars and Ketu. And if Ketu goes into the third house, then, these people, they have an extraordinary way of thinking, daydreaming. They have this ability to wishful thinking that contributes or does not contribute to their growth. Okay. So Ketu is always wishful thinking. That means, these people, if they are indulging in wishful thinking, it's not going to lead to their growth. They have to implement their thinking. Okay. And because Ketu is a malefic, so the thoughts given by Ketu can actually interfere with these natives, causing confusion and maybe complicating relationships with relatives and friends. Okay. But because Ketu is the headless one, these people are usually truthful in their dealings. And if someone is trying to lie to them in communication, they can sense that very, very quickly. Okay. So in general, they are very aware of the events taking place around them, and they are usually trusted by their friends and acquaintances. Okay. So that's it about the planets, the remaining planets in the third house. Do let me know if you want to know more about the third house, and I'll be very happy to oblige. Okay. As always, please share the knowledge with your friends and family if you find it useful. And I'll see you soon in my next video. Namaste. Om Gurave Namaha.